There's something I was going to bring up today. Something I've been studying for about 10 years since I've been doing radio shows and whatnot that I would like to share with you. And it has a lot to do with liberals, Democrats, and the whole like, and this whole gun issue that's been going on for the last week or so. And it's got more and more argumentative about gun control. Now, I've been talking about, and I'm going to relate this to the same thing. I've been talking about how Democrats are complaining about banning weapons or passing stronger laws to go after those who have innocent citizens who have guns, who don't carry out crimes. And there are very few people that actually use guns that carry out crimes. But they have been more toward going after legitimate agencies like the NRA and people of this country that own guns legally that have been following laws. Little do they go after the problem with this country when it comes to the psychiatric problems in this country, the pharmaceutical drug problems in this country, which I believe a lot of these pharmaceutical companies are in bed with politicians and the whole like, or the fact that it would cost an extreme amount of money to deal with the mental health issue and why people are having such a struggle with the psychiatric drugs that they are taking. But that's another issue. That's something else we can take on for a long time in our show or in this YouTube video, whatever the like, whatever you want to do. But to make a quick point about it, there are more people in school shootings and in public shootings that are on these psychiatric and pharmaceutical drugs than there are not. The more you see the news stories of people that are going ballistic, the more you see that they have mental issues or they're either taking or not taking. But either way, they have mental issues, and it is something that the politicians refuse to deal with or the media refuses to mention. So we have children standing up, or teenagers, I consider them children, that want to protest the gun laws or protest stopping them or pushing a further ban on them by laying down in front of the White House to protest. Little do they lay down to protest the abortion problems we have in this country, or the fact that where this abortion idea comes from. Little do they think about all it takes is one decision when they were born to eliminate them or to abort them, and it would be okay for the same government that pushes them to protest the ban on guns. This is the whole idea of stopping or pushing their political agenda. And now, liberals and Democrats, I wouldn't say all liberals or Democrats because then I wouldn't hear the end of it, but your socialist liberals and Democrats have been pushing this for a very long time, and I have been studying them and been on to them. Now, we're talking many people that deal with the New Age and liberalism, and it all is connected. Now, I talked about this on my show, have been talking about it for years, and it all starts with Madame Petrovna Blavatsky, and you can look this up. And I've done a lot of research and I've done a lot of study on it, so I know. And I've done shows on it, so I know. Now, it's connected. Now, when I am talking about, now it sounds in the beginning like it makes no sense, but what I am talking about is the eugenics program to eliminate certain races, to eliminate certain types of people, things like that, had started with this particular woman that pushes the Aryan race and the Aryan society and things like that. Now, the study of her programs and her teachings has been throughout history, from people like the New Age people like Oprah Winfrey to Margaret Sanger. The list goes on and on and on. And you have the, you can go as far back as the Lucis Trust, which used to be called the Lucifer Trust. And the same program was pushed and taught through Adolf Hitler and his socialist, socialist beliefs and the way he was forming his country in Germany back in the 30s and started Nazism. It is even said that Hitler had a book on his table next to his bed at night, which he would read quite often, on how to enforce this program among his countries, such as the elimination of Jews and things of that nature. Now, where I'm getting at is a lot of people in your country today, United States today, such as Oprah Winfrey and Hillary Clinton and so on and so forth, have believed in the New Age system, which is Hollywood believes in this New Age movement. A lot of people in the music industry believe in this movement, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole 2-hour spiel of it because then it would take too long, but I'm going to give you some videos of people to watch out for. First of all, Oprah Winfrey has been teaching people to the millions on the internet with who is Eckhart Tolle, about forcing the New Age movement. Now, what the New Age movement believes in, they do not believe in God. They do not believe in Christ. They do not believe in any such things like that. What they do believe in is Satanism. They believe in everything happens in the consciousness. There is no such thing as God. There is no such thing as Christ. It's all in the mind. The same people believe in the same New Age movement as Charles Manson, and so on and so forth. And you can find people throughout history that are very, very bad who believe in it as well. Now, they think that everyone's a god. You're a god, I'm a god, the trees are a god, this Steve Ray Vaughan poster behind me is a god. This is what they believe, and this is their collective brain thinking, which, if you watch the recent interviews with Jim Carrey, you would find that it's completely, he sounds completely crazy. But this comes out of his belief system through the New Age movement. And you find a lot of actors in interviews that sound the same way, that believe in the same movement. It is no surprise that you would find Oprah Winfrey running for president, being the fact that she supported Obama, who also believes in the same movement. Now, you can see Obama giving medals of freedom to people who are well involved in the movement, even ones that are leaders of the movement, and so on and so forth. Now, I've talked about that on my show as well. But it all goes back to eugenics and the elimination of certain societies by putting them down, so to speak. And I'm not talking making fun of them. I'm talking about putting them down for life, just completely eliminating certain societies, such as certain races, certain people they believe to grow up mentally retarded or have any kind of disability should be eliminated from society. This is their belief. Argue with me all you want, but I have the proof right here through videos and whatnot. And I'm going to read you something, and this is from, let me see here. This is from thedailysignal.com. And it was written July 22nd, 2015. 13 things you probably don't know about Planned Parenthood and founder Margaret Sanger. This is interesting. It's by Kate Scanlon. On its website, it's got the sources from where it came from, and I've looked this up. You can get on there and you can Click on them and it'll give you the PDF file of the magazine articles or newspaper articles, whatever it'll give you. But it's quite interesting, and this is for the sake of somebody saying that, arguing with you and say it's not true. Some of these articles she written, well, actually all of them she written. It was either her articles, from her magazine, or from some other magazine. But the organization compliments Margaret Sanger as one of the pro-choice movement's great heroes. Sanger started the American Birth Control League in 1921. It became part of Planned Parenthood Federation of America in 1942. Let's get to the 13. Things she said during her lifetime. 1. She proposed allowing Congress to solve population problems by appointing a parliament of population. Now, this has a lot to do with killing off or eliminating certain people in the population, whether it be, people with disabilities, whether it be people that are mentally retarded, people with autism, things like that. Any kind of disability, such as like Adolf Hitler trying to create a master race of blonde hair, blue eye perfection types. And Blavatsky was the one that started this, and it got followed down from generation to generation of people that followed her teachings, or were students of her belief system, such as the New Age movement, Adolf Hitler, Oprah Winfrey, Edgar Tolle. The list goes on, and you'll find a lot of people that are kings and queens of this in Hollywood. Directions representing the various branches of science direct and control the population through birth rates and immigration, and directed distribution over the country according to national needs consistent with taste, fitness, and interest of the individuals. 2. Sanger called the various methods of population control, including abortion, defending the unborn against their own disabilities. Okay, and I'll leave the website link on the bottom of the screen, so you can find out for yourself. You can click on this and get your own resources if you don't believe it, or if you want to read it yourself, because there's many others that are in these articles, many other authors and people that have written articles that are just plain outrageous. This is A Plan for Peace Birth Control Review, April 1932, page 107 and 108. 3. Sanger believed that the United States should keep the doors of immigration closed to the entrance of certain aliens whose condition is known to be detrimental to the stamina of the race, such as feeble-minded, idiots, morons, insane, syphilitic, epileptic, criminal, professional, prostitutes, and others in this class barred by the immigration laws of 1924. That's Birth Control Review. Number 4, Sanger advocated a stern and rigid policy of sterilization and segregation to that grade of population whose progeny is already tainted. Now, I have an interview and where she actually said this, and I'm going to play it in a little while. Or whose inheritance is such that objectionable traits may be transmitted to offspring. How do we even know this? That's from A Plan for Peace as well. Number 5, people whom Sanger considered unfit, she wrote, should be sent to farmlands and homesteads where they would be taught to work under competent instructors for the period of the rest of their lives. You can find it yourself. It's right here. She was an advocate of a proposal called the American Baby Code. This results desired are obviously selected verse. She wrote, according to Sanger, the code would protect society against the propagation and increase of the unfit. America Needs a Code for Babies, March 27, 1934, Sanger Papers. Library of Congress, 128, 0312B. 7. While advocating the American Baby Code, she argued that the marriage license should provide couples with the right to only a common household, but not parenthood. In fact, couples should have to obtain a permit to become parents. Article 3. A marriage license shall in itself give a husband and wife only the right to a common household, not to the right to parenthood. Article 4. No woman shall have the legal right to bear a child, and no man shall have the right to become a father without a permit for the parenthood. 5. Article 5. Permits for parenthood shall be issued upon application to the city, county, or state authorities to married couples, allowing the city or state. That's socialism. Provided that they are financially able to support the expected child, have the qualifications needed for proper rearing of child, and have no transmittable diseases. So how do you really know? And on the woman's part, no medical indication that the maternity is likely to result in death or permanent injury to health. How do you really know that? Article 6. No parent permit for parenthood shall be valid for more than one birth. All that sounds highly revolutionary, and it might be impossible to put the scheme into practice, she wrote. She added, what is social planning without a quota? That's America Needs a Code for Babies. 8. She believed that large families were detrimental to society. The most serious evil of our times is that of encouraging the bringing into the world of large families. The most immoral practice of the day is breeding too many children, she wrote. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant numbers is to kill it. She continued, Women and the New Race, 1920, Chapter 5, The Wickedness of Creating Large Families. I'll read that again. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. The most merciful. 9. She argued the motherhood must be efficient. Birth control itself, often denounced as a violation of natural law, is nothing more or less than the facilitation of the process of weeding out the unfit, of preventing the birth of defectives or of those who will become defectives, Sanger wrote. How do you know that? That's the Woman in the New Race also. 10. Population control, she wrote, would bring about the materials of a new race. New race. If we are to develop in America a new race with a racial soul, we must keep the birth rate within the scope of our ability to understand as well as to educate. We must not encourage reproduction beyond our capacity to assimilate our numbers so as to make the coming generation into such physically fit, mentally capable, socially alert individuals as are the ideal of democracy, she wrote. You can look this up. I mean, there's a PDF files of the magazine articles or her papers that she wrote. 11. She wrote that an access and population must be reduced. War, famine, poverty, and oppression of the workers will continue while women make life cheap, she wrote. Mothers, at whatever cost, she must emerge from her ignorance and assume her responsibility. And 12. We do not want the word to go out. This is from, this is from the letter to Dr. Clarence Gamble on December 10th, 1939. And you can look up the file on this. Now I'll give you the link of all these. We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Sanger wrote this. Of course, everybody's got, she never did say the word or anything else. She's never said anything against black people or whatever. This is your evidence right here. It doesn't matter. Some people argue. One guy argued with me when I showed him the evidence. He never came back. disappeared, which figures. But to me, if you ever, prove this by audio, video, letters, whatever, they'll still never believe it. Letters, somebody rewrote it. Photos, somebody redid it. Audio, somebody redid the audio. Video, that's not her. They'll always deny it. And the reason they deny it is because these are the people that are involved. Think about it. If you're too ignorant to go after it and do your research and to find out yourself and to say to yourself, well, this is not a very good person. I changed my mind. I'd rather do something better for myself or for this person. If you're too ignorant to do that, then you must be involved yourself. I would think that you are a part of it if you keep on denying it. Those who deny are the ones who are involved. They refuse to believe it, or they have something at stake themselves. But I'll read that again. We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. This is from the letter to Dr. Clarence Gamble on December 10th, 1939. Number 13, in an interview with Mike Wallace, which I'm going to play this later on, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing up children in the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be human, a human being practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That to me is the greatest sin that people can commit, she said. There you have it. And that's the 13 things you probably don't know about Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger and what Planned Parenthood is all about. From the dailysignal.com. Like I said, I'll post the link at the bottom of the screen. So, if you see senators complaining, saying that they're killing our children, you see Democratic senators saying that they're killing our babies, they're destroying our new generation of children. You see teenagers running around complaining about 17 people dying and people getting shot up in school, let's ban guns. It's never going to stop the government from destroying a certain population because this is what the New Age movement believes in. You were one decision away from abortion when you were in the womb. One decision away. And it would be okay for liberals and Democrats. It would be okay. No complaint at all. No argument. We kill thousands of children, unborn children every year, but yet no one's laying down in front of the White House. No one's banning this. No one's trying to come up with a better decision to let the children live. They make an excuse and say, well, if it's in the womb, it's not really a human being. And yet, if a drunk driver or a murderer kills a woman that is pregnant, they charge them for 2 deaths. Not 1, but 2. They consider that murder, double murder. That is what our government laws are. It's ridiculous. This particular senator comes out and says this yesterday, or on the 20th, about how we're killing our children. Just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Listen.
When you see the effect of this extreme violence on a human body, and especially the body of a child, maybe it will shock some people into understanding this cannot be a political issue. We have to be practical. I support the Second Amendment, but we have to have smart gun safety laws. And we cannot tolerate a society and live in a country with any level of pride when our babies are being slaughtered.
That was Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat, I believe California, from MSNBC, MS Liberal BC. The end part really got me. It really stuck to me because it's about our children. They're killing our babies. And yet they allow abortion, and they have no problem making excuses for that. Any excuse whatsoever for aborting our children or eliminating certain problems in our society. That's why, I've never seen a Planned Parenthood clinic in one of the rich neighborhoods. Only in the poorer type neighborhoods. I won't get into that. But point is, these people do not care about their babies that are being slaughtered in a school or anything like that. Because if it was that important, you would bring metal detectors in, maybe. Maybe you would have armed security. Maybe there would be a better solution than banning guns. They want their socialist agenda to be banning guns. Of course, that's what they plan on doing. That's what they want, among other things as well. You look up the statistics on what happens in socialist dictatorship countries when they ban weapons and how they kill their own people and slaughter them. I watched recently a documentary on South Korea and how things are being done behind their closed doors. And I have a good knack and very good experience, or very good way of seeing how people are, their body language and how they react. I'm an expert at that almost. I've been watching people's movements and their body language my entire life. And I see how their own people react, their own citizens. And these people are in fear in front of the cameras to say anything, to do anything, to walk a certain way. And they are brainwashed into being pushed into a leadership where they worship them like gods. They worship their leader and their dictator like gods. They're a god to them because they're brainwashed into believing that a human being is a god to them. It would be very interesting to see reaction when something like that person fell, or if a country collapsed upon itself, and what would happen to their real reaction, because these people are scared to death for themselves and for their families. What's going to happen to them if they speak out or they say anything, anything near negative? They have to have the full picture in the camera of their leader. They have to have every picture of the leader in their household. They have to worship them, pray for them, everything. It's horrific. And we don't bat an eye at these people. It's the Democrats during the Olympics that make them out to be perfect people. Nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with Kim Jong-un's sister murdering her own people. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with what they do, to his own family. This is like the mob. And then they get on TV and say things like they're killing our babies and do nothing about abortion. And for teenagers to not even do the research on what goes on. The people that are speaking, I'm seeing all kinds of weird things about the people that are speaking to the news agencies. Supposedly these 17-year-old children and their IDs are actually in their 20s. Things like that. Very suspicious. Their agenda is not guns. Well, their agenda is guns, but their agenda is not to make the world safe from guns for you and the other teenagers. If you sat in school long enough, or if you listen to people that are older than you, which you refuse to because you think you know more than anybody else, regardless of how old they are and how much experience they have, which I would listen to the experience more than anything, because that's what I believe is more important. It's the experience of people that know what's going on. But if you actually shut your mouth and sit and listen for once in your life and actually get your information, get your info, and find out where these ignorant words are coming from. If they actually go after, if you actually do your research, find out who you're standing behind, but you refuse to do that. Because it's a day off of school, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you're too lazy to do it. I don't know the reason behind that. I don't really care. But I think until you do your research, until you actually know your facts before you get on TV and lay down in front of the White House and expect people to listen to you, do your research, because the world isn't listening. And the people in this country that actually have their info and have their facts are not going to listen to you, because it's worthless to us and everyone else. If you wake up and do your research, you'll realize this is not an agenda about fixing you. This is not an agenda about helping the children in schools. This is not about that. This is about control. That is the reason why the Second Amendment in our Constitution was implemented, because of government control. I seen somebody the other day from England saying, I'm glad we don't have that in our country. You know, I would never be from America. This is the reason why America is where it is. It's because of England. Somebody else, again, that doesn't have their facts, and somebody, again, that doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. But if it wasn't for that, and remember this, we would not be winning the wars that we have won. The Emperor of Japan in World War II, Hirohito, I believe, said that when asked, why did you not invade the United States? Which he could have. And they were very close, just like the Germans were very close as well. Why did you not invade the United States? And his quote was, because there is a gun behind every blade of grass. That is why we have not been invaded. Because they know that it's more citizens in this country carry weapons than any other country in the world. That is protection against governments. That is protection not only against ours, but other governments as well. If it wasn't for that, who knows all the countries in the past that would have tried to invade us, the wars we probably would have been in on our own soil. And if you go and say, well, they invaded one of our states, Hawaii. Hawaii wasn't a state in the United States at the time. So do your research, like I said. But think about that. Now we get to the new age where people say, you know, they care about you and they care about the children, and Oprah Winfrey running for president and things like that. The most ridiculous things I've ever heard come out of her mouth. So she wants to run for, or she may run for president, and it would not surprise me. You know, it seems like now more of the Democrats that start talking are the ones that are guilty of doing things themselves. She comes out with this video, and I'll play it in a second, where people are just going to have to die. And now this morning, Mark Cuban, they found out that it's an animal house, that for years the Mavericks organization in the front office was the real animal house, and how they're partying and doing some pretty horrible things behind closed doors, and sexual assaults and all kinds of stuff. And Mark Cuban stands there and says, I don't know anything. I don't know nothing. I know nothing. How do you not know about your own organization? And if you represent that organization and own it, you're just as responsible as anyone else. You are. Just as responsible. So don't sit there and say, I didn't know anything. And it's funny that the liberals and Democrats and people that stand up supporting people like Hillary Clinton, supporting people like Oprah Winfrey, the new age Oprah, making it sound like, I give a car to you. Everyone gets a car. You get a car. She gets a car. They get a car. Everybody gets a car. You get a car. Manipulation, just like the mob did it in the 1920s and 30s. They'd give people anything they wanted in the neighborhood to protect themselves so no one would turn them in. So that everyone would be on their side if they did something wrong. That's exactly the same thing. Manipulate people by giving them stuff. I never trusted the woman, but that's for a different show. And I've done shows about her and her New Age movement before. But this is a person that tries to be kind-hearted, cares about the children, cares about you. And then she says things like this.
And there's a whole generation, I say this, I said this, for apartheid South Africa. I said this for my own, community in the South. There are still generations of people, older people, who were born and bred and marinated in it, in that prejudice and racism, and they just have to die.
Now, does that sound like a kind-hearted individual that wants to give you a car, give you this, give you that? She's serious. You can see it in her eyes that she's serious about what she says. Now, what gives her the right to judge who should live and who should die? What gives her the right to call anyone prejudiced, call anyone racist? We have so many people in this country alone that are prejudiced against so many things. Ugly, cute, fat, skinny, big, small, black, white. There are so many different prejudices. People don't like smokers. People don't like people that smoke marijuana, don't smoke marijuana, Democrat, Republican. It doesn't make a difference. There are so many people that are against so many things. So what gives her the right to say who lives and who dies by what means they should be? You can say all day long, well, that's taken out of context. That's not what she really meant. But this is a person that had 40 years of media and news experience. This is a person that had 40 years, possibly more, of knowing what to say, when to say it, how to use certain words and manipulate the public, she had talk shows where she knew the right things to say, the wrong things to say, whether they should be taken out of context, not taken out of context. So for anyone to say that, well, this is not really what she meant, BS. That's BS. That's exactly like saying that a child learns to play baseball and uses a certain way of swinging the bat. Swinging the bat. He swings the bat. And you teach him through elementary how to swing the bat, and there's a stance that you learn. So he's coached into swinging the bat a certain way. Okay? So then he becomes older, gets into junior high. He's coached how to swing the bat, how to make a certain stance. Goes through high school, same thing. Coached how to swing the bat, how to make a stance to get a hit. Goes through college, same thing. He's coached on how to swing the bat. So by then he's developed on how things should be done in a certain way. So he goes through AAA, taught the same thing. How to swing the bat, how to get a stance, how to get a hit, how to get a home run. There are certain ways to do things, and you're taught and trained to do that. So he gets in the major leagues, walks up to his first at-bat. What does he do? Donk. Swing straight down. That's like saying that. You're trained to swing and to move a certain way your entire life, and your first time that you go up there and you're told to swing, or you get up there to swing, you swing straight down. And you chop it like an axe. That's the same thing. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's saying. There are people that she supports. Hillary Clinton, ex-President Obama. People that are in the New Age movement. People that are in the occult. And Hillary Clinton is in the occult. Has been in the occult in the past. She's been known to do seances at the White House. Look it up. Get your info. It's there. Even in an interview, her husband, Bill Clinton, admitted that she talks to dead people. Admitted that she talks to Eleanor Roosevelt. He admitted it in a speech.
And a special thanks to the members of the Roosevelt family who are here, and to one who is not, Eleanor, who made sure that the four freedoms were included in the preamble to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. I know that because, as all of you famously learned when I served as president, my wife, now the Secretary of State, was known to commune with Eleanor on a regular basis. And so she called me last night on her way home from Peru to remind me to say that Eleanor had talked to her and reminded her that I should say that.
All you have to do is look it up. It's there. But she has been into this for years. people that are in the New Age or in the occult. These are people that are running the show, people that are politicians, people that want to run for president, people that have been involved, First Lady, Secretary of State. These people have been involved in Democrats, liberals. I'm sure there's a whole lot of Republicans that are involved in it. There are so many people in this government and this society that are involved in this stuff, and you're worried about gun control. I would be afraid if they took your guns away, because then you're left defenseless. And we're talking about the same people that don't care that they're killing unborn children. These are the same people that hang out with people that are convicted felons of pedophilia. These are the same people that are convicted pedophilia felons. And you watch the videos of Biden and doing the things he's doing. You heard stories of Clinton and the people he's hanging out with, Bill Clinton. And now you get pictures of Oprah Winfrey hanging out with Weinstein in Hollywood. Several pictures of her schmoozing with Weinstein and introducing young people to Weinstein, who's been accused of sexual assault. And I'm sure he's been involved in the same crap that a lot of these politicians have. And of course, it goes all the way down to Blavatsky. It goes all the way down to Margaret Sanger. And of course, Hillary Clinton idolized Margaret Sanger, her hero. She got an award from Planned Parenthood, who considered her hero. Listen to this.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be back in Houston with so many friends and to have an opportunity to participate in the Planned Parenthood annual meeting. I have to tell you that it was a great privilege when I was told that I would receive this award. I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Her courage, her tenacity, her vision. Another of my great friends, Ellen Chesler, is here, who wrote a magnificent biography of Margaret Sanger called Woman of Valor. And when I think about what she did all those years ago in Brooklyn, taking on archetypes, taking on attitudes and accusations flowing from all directions, I am really in awe of her. And there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from her life and from the cause she launched and fought for and sacrificed so greatly.
Really? Really? Hello? Accusations? Really? Admiring the woman? You know, you've heard what I just read. She admired the woman. She's a hero of hers. She gets an award from Planned Parenthood. Think about the people. Think about who you're schmoozing with. Think about who you talk about. Think about doing your research before you decide to make a decision on who you're backing. You know, a lot of these people that vote for Hillary Clinton, oh, Donald Trump's racist, and so-and-so's racist, and everybody's racist, and you're racist, he's a racist, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, everyone's racist. So many people are just prejudiced, and you're backing the woman who is racist. You're backing the woman who has a hero, as a hero, follows a woman that wanted to eliminate unborn children, wanted to destroy and kill people that were not in perfect form, people with mental disabilities, people with any kind of disability, people with epilepsy, people with hearing problems, people with sight problems, if it, people of a certain color, people that were immigrants, if it was nothing, not anything to her eyes as being perfect, she wanted it gone. Eliminated, wiped from the face of the earth. Does that not sound like somebody we know? 1930s? Hello? And you're backing this woman. You can make excuses all day long for the kind of person she is. Make excuses. but you heard it. You've seen it. The video is there, so you cannot make excuses. You cannot say this woman is innocent. Accusations. Oh, she's not prejudiced. It's all an accusation. Really?
Mrs. Margaret Slee, president of America's Planned Parenthood Federation, maintains that European women should stop having babies for the next 10 years.
Don't you think such a theory, such a radical theory, is antisocial?
On the contrary, it seems to me that it is more practical and humane.
What about the women who want babies now and in 10 years will not be able to have babies? Rather impractical, don't you think?
Oh, John, you do ask hard questions. I should think that instead of being impractical, it is really very practical and intelligent and humane.
But Mrs. Slee, in this country, having babies is the only thing left which is both unrationed and untaxed. Do you think we really ought to stop?
Well, I suppose a subject like that is really so personal that it's entirely up to the parents to decide. But from my view, I believe that there should be no more babies.
This woman is a known scumbag. I consider it a scumbag. She is no hero of mine. She should not be a hero of anyone. And yet, they wanted to put her face on the dollar bill or, change of certain women of valor, certain women that were heroes they want to put on the face of the dollar bill in our history. She was being one as being picked. Seriously? Really? Did you really look into the history of this woman and what she's all about and who follows her and who she followed in the past? There are so many people that are involved in this. And I can go on all day long about it. But the point is, if you backtrack and you say that, well, we can just get rid of guns and save our children. Who's going to save the children that are being slaughtered right now that don't have a voice? Who's going to save them later? Who's to say that if you go ahead and you pass these laws and you ban guns, whatever you do with weapons, whatever you do, take the Second Amendment away, who's to say that they're not going to do something later on? Oh, they wouldn't do that. It's just crazy talk. They would never do anything like that. You know, I said years ago when they started attacking people smoking that wouldn't be the end of it. Once you allow that, they're going to say, well, let's see what else we can get away with. Oh, well, let's see if we can get away with something a little bit harder. You kind of test the waters by putting your toes in, and it seems okay, so let's put our foot in. Oh, that seems a lot better, so let's put our leg in. Oh, let's just jump right into the pool. So they've went ahead and tried to regulate what kind of sodas you drink, what kind of food you eat, even though they're putting crap chemicals in our food today that are making people sick, making children's minds go out because they're chemicals that they're eating. I saw a video recently of a guy that was testing out chopping up cornflakes or Wheaties and trying them out with a magnet, and they were sticking to the magnet because of certain metals that are inside the Wheaties. Really? And you want your children to eat this stuff. And you wonder why they have so many ADD, ADHD, their brains are basically melting, and they talk like complete out of whack. There weren't this many problems when I was growing up. 20 years ago, there weren't this many problems. Now it's every single child has to have drugs. Every one of them. We're killing our children. You just don't see it. And when you go out there and say, well, it's going to save our lives if you keep people from shooting up schools. Who's going to stop them from feeding you junk food or what you watch on TV that gets into your minds? You're desensitized to so many rotten things. It's okay to watch dead bodies. It's okay to see some of the things you do, and it doesn't bother you what you do to other people. It doesn't bother you. People in this country are so damn angry, and it doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother you to run red lights. It doesn't bother you to cut other people off. It doesn't bother you to drink and drive. It doesn't bother you to attack teachers. It doesn't bother you to disrespect adults. It doesn't bother you to do whatever you want to do and get away with it. I don't care. As long as they don't shoot up our schools. You know what? That's selfish thinking because you're worried about people shooting you. That's what it is. Because you don't have a weapon. Because I guarantee you, you would change your mind completely if somebody offered you a gun. Your mind would be changed. Well, I can get it to protect myself, and then you'd be crying about the Second Amendment. You have your rights. If you're not old enough to vote, shut up. Because we don't want to hear it anymore. So for you to sit there and say that, oh, Hillary Clinton's the greatest, all these people are the greatest, think about the people they're backing. Think about their beliefs and what they try to do. Think about what they have done in the past. All the horrible things that have been going on. You can do your research, and you'll be shocked at some of the things that they do, but you refuse to listen because you're so deep embedded in it that you believe everything they're going to tell you. You won't believe a teacher, you won't believe your parents, but you'll believe what the media tells you. People you don't know. How do you know they're telling you the truth? Did you even ask the question? Did you do your research? When somebody comes up to you and tells you something, do you believe every word that they say? How do you know that they're not liars? How do you know that the people you're following isn't lying to you? We've been lied to for years. And you're just now figuring this out. And maybe you're not figuring it out. Maybe you're just still being brainwashed. Walking around like, is that a pink elephant flying in the air? So we got more on Margaret Sanger and her lovely prejudice crap that she's been spewing.
Do you believe in sin? When I say believe, I don't mean to believe in committing sin. Do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically, delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
But sin in the ordinary sense that we regard it, do you believe or do you not believe?
Well, what would they be?
Do you believe that infidelity is a sin?
Well, I'm not going to specify what I think is sin. I've stated what I think is the worst sin.
Yes, but then you asked me to say what, and I said what, and you refused to answer me?
Yes, I don't know about infidelity. It has so many personalities to it, and what a person's own belief is. I couldn't generalize.
The infidelity part kind of threw me off. There are so many different types, you couldn't generalize. Infidelity is infidelity. But anyway, the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that are marked when they were born. And what gives you the right to decide who is marked and who isn't marked? How do you know how a child is exactly going to turn out? Just because the parents have made rotten decisions in the past? Just because they are a certain way? Are children supposed to be, let's say, in your eyes, a perfect Aryan race? I think that was probably one of the comments that coincides with the 13 that I read earlier, with everything that I've said earlier and how this woman is. So complain about the 13 may be rewritten by someone else. Someone made that up, but you've heard it from her own two lips. Her beliefs and her stance on the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world. Her stance on that and how she feels about it. And you think about the people that follow this woman, who consider her a hero, who want to put her on the dollar bill or the $5 bill, the people that receiving awards from Planned Parenthood. Do your research. Look online and see what Planned Parenthood really is all about. Is it really planning for parenthood, or is it planning so you won't have to be parents? What is the reason? Is it the extermination of certain groups? I think personally it is. I've heard it from their own mouth. I've seen the interviews. I read the documents. I've studied this for 10 years. I've seen how Hillary Clinton thinks. I've heard her comments. I've seen who she supported in the past. I've seen who she supports now. And it's totally contradicting to her standing up and saying some of the things that she says. Totally contradicting to say that she backs up this person and backs up this group and backs up this and that and does that. It's totally contradicting to anything she says. And totally changes the subject and denies her saying well, nobody's perfect. That is pretty darn disgusting. That's not like accidentally saying the wrong word. That is completely following somebody who has a decision of exterminating racists. Think about that. Think about the people that want to support your gun rights or your gun elimination. Think about the people that support it when they say you're killing our babies, and yet they do nothing about abortion. They do nothing about attacking their views of attacking other people who are innocent to follow their whim. And by the way, for those that back up Hillary Clinton to believe that she is involved and understands the LGBT community, Margaret Sanger was against that and considered, if you read the interview, if you listen to the interview, you'll know the whole story. It's about 30 minutes long. You can get on YouTube and find it. That she's totally against it. That she sees it as another issue. That she sees it as another problem in the gene pool, so to speak, and should be eliminated. And some of the things that she says out of her own mouth are the same things that come out of Madame Blavatsky's books, her New Age movement thinking, her belief system on religions, that it's all the same religion, that we're all gods, and something that Hitler tried to spew on his own people, and you see how that turned out, the extermination of thousands of people who there are certain people that try to deny that ever happened. And there's so much evidence. There are so many things that prove that this happened, just as bad as so many things that prove that the world is round and people still insist that it's flat. The ignorance of this thinking. The attack on God's Bible and the views that God has instilled in this world, in this country. And the fact that we deny that, and since we deny that, the worse it gets. And it will get worse. And it's coming very, very fast. The walls are closing in very, very fast. And I would think about that a lot before you make your next decision. You look deep inside yourself. Do you really want it to be that bad? Do you want another civil war? Do you want people killing each other and fighting each other in the streets over stupid words? Because you can't accept a person's different point of view outside of your own. Everyone must pay. This is the kind of thing that you want. Do you want a civil war? Do you want people killed in the streets? Look at Rwanda. Look what happened there. And look at so many places that of races and people of different walks of life that were exterminated, from the Native Americans to the Aztecs to the Mayans, Rwanda, things of that nature, that Clinton decided to get off his butt and do something about that when people came to him and forced him to do it. Think about that. This is a Ghost Getter. I appreciate everybody watching. Be sure to like, click, and subscribe. thenightbreedshow.wix.com/GhostGetter. Check us out on Google, Ghost Getter. Facebook.com/Mike Ghost Getter Show. Facebook.com/Ghost Getter. You can find me on Twitter, Ghost Getter, and Patreon, patreon.com/Ghost Getter. Google me, and you will find me all over Google on the top, the very first on the top under Google. And Reverse 96 FM. Be sure to listen to the station as well. Appreciate everybody listening, and I hope you understood, and maybe you'll get it. Till then, catch you later.